Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Gossip Finance. I am your host, Alacia Singer.
I'm Duncan Sandlin. How's everybody today? I hope everybody's good. How are you doing, Lacey?
Oh, geez, you know what? I'm reeling from the super weird week in the news, and I
Oh my
feel like I'm kind of always saying that, but when you think it can't get stranger, it kind of does.
Well, we got a ton of news today. If we can get to it, we'll do a personal finance clip, but I don't know that we'll be able to get to it. We're going to just try and cram through as much as we can. So,
Yeah.
if you guys don't mind, we'll dive right in. So, Super Tuesday was this week, and Trump did win, but it wasn't a great victory. Nikki Haley won Vermont, which was kind of odd. But then what happened was throughout all the states that she was, I mean, she was in all of them, but she got anywhere between 30 to 50% of the vote. And
That should not have happened.
No, on top of that fact, they polled him later on, and a lot of those voters said they weren't going to vote for Trump, even if he was the candidate. So that's not good, because that's him losing 15 to 20% of the Republican Party, and he needs all of them. Yeah. So we're going to jump into a clip here with Ben Meisalas talking a little bit about this, because it wasn't a great view for him, given everything.
Folks, Donald Trump was just stunned by a surprise loss on Super Tuesday in the state of Vermont. We can now call that his Republican challenger, Nikki Haley, will go on to defeat Donald Trump in Vermont. And Trump has underperformed across the entire country on Super Tuesday, coming in with far less votes than the various projected polls and averages that exist. Here's the call from Interactive Polls that Nikki Haley has won. If you go look at the specific number that she won by in Vermont, that is, it's 49.5% as of right now, enough to call the Vermont primary in favor of Nikki Haley. But let's take a more broader look, not just at Vermont. And look, to be fair, Donald Trump has won in the primaries in all of the other states, although recall he did lose in Washington, D.C., which we called over the weekend. But as Eric Feigelding talks about here, Trump has underperformed by a devastating negative 21% tonight in Virginia. Trump is underperforming versus polls. This is a consistent trend that we've seen happening in multiple states now. And as Eric states, either polls are especially broken or Trump's momentum is broken, or both. And so if you just take Virginia for...
So this is especially bad because this is the primaries. He should be getting all the Republican votes. This is the hardcore voters. This is not the... Right? So...
Well, Duncan, let's add to that the fact that this is not some, unknown person. Let's be honest, in a lot of times in the primaries, if you're not somebody who's, really following politics anyway, you might really not realize who some of these people are, because if you're living in Oregon, your average person might not really know who the governor of New Hampshire that decided to run, or the senator of whatever. You just might not know who that even is, right? But this is somebody who already served as the president of the United States. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody in all of the states know who he is, and he's not mopping the floor with them. He's already served in this office, and in fact, he's underperforming. That's an even bigger deal than just the governor of insert, state here that half the people don't even know.
Right. And so that's the deal, is he really should be getting all this. This is all the hardcore voters too. And I know it's we don't really talk about polls a ton, just because I just think they're cannon fodder at this point, because what ends up happening before the summer, right? And even through most of the summer, is most Democrats, Democrats have the big tent party. They have the minorities, they have college-educated people, they have most of the women, and statistically, these people work. They have careers, so they don't have time to take off Tuesday to go fucking vote in a primary. Most of them, right? Except for the real hardcore people. So like Biden won pretty handily. He did piss off. He didn't do as well as he probably hoped because he did lose some of the protest vote for Gaza, but it wasn't that much. I mean, he swept.
And what are the odds that the protest vote for Gaza is going to like become a Trump vote?
They're not. I think
in like actual, full one-on-one election situation.
They're not. But then, of course, you got to remember this is the base mostly. But then it's like, okay, he's not even turning on the like. They're still right wing, but they're more closer to moderate than the Trump supporters are. I don't even on the scale they're still pretty far to the right, but if he can't even get those people, how's he going to get the moderates? How's he going to get the independent or the non-informed voters, right? The independent voters. He's not going to get those people. So he's in deep shit right now.
Not enough of them.
Yeah, and the Republican Party doesn't have the money to really run this year. The Democrats are raking in all the cash, which kind of tells you where everything's going. So, yeah, that was pretty much Super Tuesday from a nutshell. There's not much else to say about it other than it kind of sucked for Trump. He won, but not the victory he needed. So, we'll see. But he is doing everything he can to piss everybody off right now. Flat out telling them, the moderate Republicans, yeah, we don't want you. We don't want the Romneys. We're going to kick you all out of the party shit. It's like, really? You're saying that on Super Tuesday? Well,
where's the strategy in that, genius? Come on now.
Well, that and the more we don't have time to get into it today, but the more you see him, he's just slurring and making no fucking sense. He looks cognitively out of it. Sweating like a pig.
Honestly, that's absolutely worrisome because if there really is something cognitively going on that's like dementia or some sort of a decline, like what has been, rumored and suspected, if there's any truth in any of that, all jokes aside, you don't really want that being the issue that the person running your country, with their finger on a nuke button or whatever has, or people making any big decisions.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, you definitely, because then it makes us look weak, which is really what, you really don't want that, especially with all the conflicts going on right now. Well, anyway, let's skip to Fox News because they flipped out a little bit about this. They were not happy, but Jessica Tarlov here kind of corrects everything.
Exits for GOP voters tonight who won't guarantee their vote for the nominee. North Carolina, 35%. Virginia, 36%. California, 33%. That has been consistent, that there's 30 to 50% of people who don't want Donald Trump but identify as a Republican or are voting in that primary. How can Joe Biden and his team make the case, talk about some of the things, of course, you talk about on your show, Larry, about the economy, to up those optimism numbers, which are going in the right direction, and there's always a lag from results to how you feel about it, to talk about immigration. Clearly he wants to. That bipartisan border deal is going to be a big deal at the State of the Union, and other non-traditional Democratic issues.
But I think just coming...
You go to
So you can see they didn't really have a response to that, but she's right. Biden could actually pick up some of these people, which is,
right.
This is not looking good for Trump going forward in the election. We'll see. Right now, like I said, he's in some of the polls he's winning, but right now that's because a lot of the people you're getting are people with landlines, which tend to be retired older people. And the hardcore Republicans come out and vote because the average MAGA person is white, non-college educated male. Mm-hmm. It's that's like 70 or 80% of them. Unfortunately, that's a huge voting block in this country, but it's not the voting block it was 20 years ago where you could win with just that. You need to get women and minorities and all these other groups. So, yeah, we'll see, but... I'm not saying he's out of it or anything, but it's not looking good for him. Which I'm not upset about. I'm hoping we don't have to deal with his ass again. But he did get a couple big rulings this week from the Supreme Court. So the first one was they decided to take up the immunity case, which was stupid. Because Jack Smith asked them in December about, okay, the immunity case, are we taking that up? Or would you guys take that up back in December? And the Supreme Court said, no, we'll just let the appeals court handle it. So the appeals court handled it, came back unanimous 3-0, saying, no, he's not immune. And they wrote a really bulletproof judgment on that. And sent it to the Supreme Court, and everybody thought, oh, there's no way the Supreme Court's going to take up this case. It's too stupid. And of course they said, well, we'll take up the case. Well, that's good for Trump because they're not going to hear it till the end of April. And then they probably won't rule on it till like June. Right? Because I think they have to do it before July 1st. They could delay it. I don't know. But while they're ruling on it, they can't take him to federal court for his criminal stuff. So they have to delay those cases. So that might end up being good for him, or it might end up backfiring, because it might end up being that he ends up going for the Jan 6 case for insurrection. And he's basically being tried for insurrection in September and October and November during the election. He's going to be in court being tried for insurrection. So they did hand him sort of a delay. It might work out in his favor, it might not. The other one they did was they came back and they ruled that on whether he could be disqualified from the ballot under the 14th Amendment. So just to reiterate, the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the Constitution says if you've taken an oath of office and then committed insurrection, then you can no longer hold office. And I'm going to put a pin in hold office, right? So the Supreme Court heard the case, and they basically ruled, no. So Colorado was where they took him off the ballot, because he can't hold office, so why is he on the ballot, right? So the two courts in Colorado decided. The first one said, well, yeah, he committed insurrection, but I guess technically he's not an officer under the law, even though he's the highest office in the land. She kind of chickened out of that. That went to the appeals court. The appeals court said, no, of course he's an officer, take him off the ballot. And he committed insurrection. Plus, you have courts in, I think it's in Illinois and Maine, also said he committed insurrection. There are like 3 or 4 courts now that have found him guilty of insurrection. And Congress found him guilty of insurrection, right? When they did the second impeachment. So it's kind of weird. They said, okay, the states have to take him now off the ballot. All right, but the judgment doesn't make a ton of sense. And I want to jump into this. This is, let's see. This is George Conway. Hang on a second. We'll get into this in a sec, but we'll get into George second. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So the judgment is basically they saying the feds, the Supreme Court didn't even rule on the insurrection. They ignored it completely. They just said the states can't individually ban somebody for this. They can if it's a state person, if it's a state office, but they can't if it's a federal office. So it's kind of like a weird, fucked up patchwork kind of thing. And then they said, okay, but in Section 5, it says that Congress has to rule on this or something, which is not technically what it says. And so they're like, well, so Congress has to be the one that does this. So there's no real enforcement mechanism. So why are we kicking it back to Congress? Congress has already made a decision on this. It's called the 14th Amendment. It was made like 150 years ago. Why are we bitching? So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So here's George Conway. You might remember him. He's Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. And he's not a Trump fan, but he was a federal lawyer, and he's tried cases in the Supreme Court. So he's got a pretty good view of this.
Coherent rationale to this opinion. And that, again, that's just not surprising. I think the bottom line, I think the most important thing to take away from this decision is the one thing it didn't touch, the one thing it didn't address, the one thing they were most terrified of, which is going anywhere near the factual findings, which were made on a very extensive record in the district court in Denver, that Donald Trump was, in fact, an insurrectionist. And that is the most important takeaway, I think, of the day, is that they were absolutely not going to touch that one way or the other. And as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump, just as he's an adjudicated rapist, remains an adjudicated insurrectionist, even if the Supreme Court has wrongly held that the states do not have the power to enforce Section 3 of the 14th Amendment as against potential candidates for federal office.
And when you say they just didn't want to play, because this obviously, I mean, this jumped out at me too, that the opinion didn't talk about whether or not Trump engaged in insurrection. And so it didn't, we had talked, when we talked about this before, there was this element of like, will they take up the facts as they are presented? Or like that they have to take up the facts as presented by the Colorado court? You might have to correct me on this if I'm saying it wrong. But but basically, like, they just don't even, when you say they didn't play, what you mean is they didn't even talk about this at all. It's just not in there. They're not going to talk about that.
They were determined to stay absolutely away from anything controversial politically, I think.
And he's right. He's right. They changed the question a little bit to, can a state do this? Not whether or not Trump should be taken off the ballot. And it's kind of a fucked up thing because that's the rule, that's the law, right, in the Constitution. So who enforces that? Who adjudicates that? You would think the courts would. But they're saying we're not even going to adjudicate on that. Congress has to do it. Congress isn't set up to adjudicate. Yeah.
Like how would that even happen? You know, what would that look like?
Well, that's the thing. So right now, it becomes completely partisan because you'd have to bring it up somehow in the House, which actually I forget who's doing it, but yeah, they're actually bringing it. Oh, Jamie Raskin is bringing it up. As soon as they did the thing, he said, "Okay, fine. Then I'm going to bring up a bill that he be removed from the ballot." And he's got a bunch of people supporting him on that, but once again, the Republicans have a slim majority in the House, so what are the odds they're even going to let it go to the floor? So then it becomes a complete political issue. It's not a legal issue now of decision, and you take away power from the states, which is interesting because all these justices that pushed for this, they're very much like, oh yeah, states' rights. Oh, except for this, we don't like those states' rights. See, they like states' rights when it's the right states' rights, not the wrong states' rights, which would need to be righted by the states' wrongs that they're righting, but they're not going to do it. Congress has to do it. It's pretty much the whole fuck. I mean, it was a John Roberts special. I mean, they totally fucked this thing. But it's so stupid. But I want to get into this. So he had one more appearance. Let's see if I can find it here. I had it, but it keeps reloading funny. All right, here it is. And so here's what happened. So it was a unanimous decision, they said, and it kind of was. 9 justices all agreed, yeah, the states shouldn't individually be able to do this. But 4 of the justices, the 4 women, coincidentally, including Amy Coney Barrett, who Trump put in, who's a real right-wing nut job, she even said, well, wait a second, the Congress thing doesn't make a ton of sense. Why are we sending it back to Congress? You're kind of overstepped your bounds here. If we just asked, well, the states can't individually do it, that has to be a federal decision, well, then it should be some federal court. I don't know, maybe a Supreme Court of some type that makes that decision.
Gee, wouldn't it be great if there was one of those?
Yeah. But
maybe we should try that.
But if you have any doubt of whether or not this decision on their part was entirely political and had nothing to do with the law, then Amy Coney Barrett spells it out for you, and George Conway points it out here with Jen Psaki.
Shut up. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Of all people, Amy. Oh my God.
She gives away the game. Yeah, completely.
Different from these other provisions, and they're just making it up. And all the justices were making it up.
Why though? Why? You've studied this court for so long.
Because they were terrified.
Of what? Trump? The reaction?
The reaction. And I think that's clear from Justice Barrett's concurring opinion. I mean, she says all of this stuff she says the quiet part out loud. This is not the time to amplify disagreement with stridency. The court has settled a politically charged case in the volatile season of a presidential election. Particularly in this circumstance, writings of the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. She's terrified. And they all were terrified, including the liberal judges. Okay, the only difference that I can see between what the liberal judges said and what the majority said was they probably would have restricted it to the president. But if they do that, the opinion would have been even worse, because at least it would have been looked like you just cherry picked the president out of a pile to say that the presidency is somehow special from all these other.
And there were other insurrectionists too, but.
And he's right. And that's, I mean, there's nothing else you can say. I mean, the Supreme Court, I mean, they've always been semi-political, but the whole point of the Supreme Court is that they're not supposed to be. And that's why they get lifetime appointments. And, yeah, go ahead. I mean...
Well, can I say it, Duncan? We freaking called this.
Yeah, we did.
So, boy, I wanted the whole time to be very, very wrong. And I wanted to believe that the Supreme Court actually had some integrity, but we called it.
But I think they've pretty much proven they're illegitimate as a legal system, and not the court necessarily, but the judges. And it kind of brings me to the point of, like, I'm now at the point of, like, I don't think you should be able to serve on the court for more than, like, 8 years, and then you gotta fucking be gone. Because giving them lifetime appointments, I mean, you see now what they do with them.
In any political office, where do we give a freaking lifetime appointment?
We don't, yeah.
You know?
Well, I think the founders, their concept behind it was, we'll give them lifetime appointments, that way they can't be bribed. Yeah, but if we say 8 years and you're fucking gone, you can't be bribed either. Because you're gone in 8 years anyway. I mean, so, anyway, that was that with the Supreme Court. I mean, you know, we'll see what it changes or doesn't change, but yeah, it was like we said before, they just pussied out. They took the chicken shit option, and they let politics rule the day when they should have made a legal decision. So on a legal decision, did he take an oath? Yes. Was he an officer? Yes. Did he commit an insurrection? Yeah. It should have been a no-brainer of a case. I mean, you know. But anyway, I know we got a lot of Trump stuff, but that's just because the election's coming up and things have been crazy with him. So part of the problem Trump has now is he's got the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit for $83.3 million. It's now over 90 because of interest, I think. And then he's got $355 million for the state of New York for his fraud trial, which is now over $460 million.
Oh, man.
So the E. Jean Carroll case, the $83.3 million. So this is how it works. You get the judgment. Once the judgment's issued, you get 30 days to post a bond, okay? Or to put up the cash at the court if you're going to appeal. And that'll stop them, that'll put a stay on the execution of the judgment until the appeal comes through. If you don't, after 30 days, the judgment goes into effect, and they can execute the judgment even if you're appealing. Right? So what that means is this. Trump has to put, for E. Jean Carroll, he's got to put up $83.3 million. It's actually closer to like 110 because he's got to factor in interest on all that. So it ends up being like 120% of whatever the current rate is. So it's going to be like 120, 10 or 20 million, something like that he'd have to put up in a bond or in cash or something like that. Or he'd have to put up assets. Not that his assets are necessarily worth anything. Because most of them are leveraged to the hilt. I mean, so he'd have to put up that money in 30 days to stop the execution of the judgment. Well, I think it's either today or tomorrow or Monday or something like that. It's in the next day or so, or it's today. I can't remember what the exact date was. He's got to have that bond up, and he hasn't. And if that's the case, E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, is going to start, she basically just goes to the sheriff's department or the feds, and she just says, hey, here's a list of his assets. Here's the judgment. Go seize his shit. Then get us our money. So they can start seizing Trump properties, freezing his bank accounts if he doesn't get this money. It doesn't look like he has it. He did say he could get $100 million bond, but I don't know if that was true. But Alina Habba tried to delay this a couple times and fucked it all up. And we're going to watch Bet My Salsa the Midas Touch.
I am so shocked, given she cannot fill out paperwork.
I know.
I mean...
Oh, God, she's such an idiot.
Instead of Trump Tower, maybe when I go downtown, I'll be walking by Carroll Tower.
The Carroll Tower. Should probably rename it the Hillary Hotel, just to piss everybody off. Anyway.
That'd be so funny. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, let's click over this. So, Ben Mysalis is going to make fun of Alina Habba a little bit. I just want to pile on.
I'll tell you something. Somebody said to me, Alina, would you rather be smart or pretty? And I said, oh, easy. Pretty. I can fake being smart.
I always like to show that clip of Alina Habba before she files something entirely frivolous, which means I show that clip a lot. Now, in the E. Jean Carroll case, Alina Habba has filed 2 separate motions. One, she's asking the federal judge Lewis Kaplan, as a matter of law, under Federal Rule 50B, to throw away the jury's 80...
And I just want to make a quick note. Both these motions are last minute. They wait until the 11th hour to file these fuckers.
$3.3 million verdict that was entered against Donald Trump. And she says that just reverse it. The jury got it wrong. Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan declared that Donald Trump was actually the winner of the trial that he lost. And
I mean, like, were all of these people dropped on their heads really, really hard? Like, what is happening? What is happening?
I don't know what she's smoking or drinking, but we got to try it sometime. That is so good.
It's gone beyond even being funny. It's all just, like, super weird. Like, what is happening?
God, I wish... Isn't that hilarious? I mean, Your Honor, I know we lost the trial, and I know we got the judgment from the jury of $83.3 million, but can't you just reverse that and say it didn't happen and that Trump won? And of course you have a ton of incentive because we did nothing but talk shit about you the entire fucking hearing and give death threats against you and your staff. And you only had to correct me because I couldn't fucking deliver evidence in court because I didn't know how many times. And I had to yell at you and talk shit about you to the press. but just reverse it. They're like children. Can't you just forget that?
Well, I mean, they figured they could do that with an entire election, so why couldn't they do that with court too?
Oh my god, they're fucking spoiled children. Okay, well let's watch a little bit more because this just cracks me the fuck up. I can't believe it. Just reverse it. Yeah, you can do that. Fuck the jury.
Then a few minutes later, Alina Habba then filed a separate motion under Rule 59 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, requesting that the federal judge grant a new trial or remit or lessen the damages, because Alina Habba says that the jury awarded E. Jean Carroll way too much money for the defamation by Donald Trump against his sexual assault victim, and that the judge should reduce the damages significantly or grant a new trial. I kid you not. I want to...
I mean, look, seriously, if you're the judge and this is the shit that you're like getting, it's coming across your desk, it'd be like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Oh my God.
Like you're sending me paperwork saying it's too high. Why? Because he doesn't have the money? Is that why it's too high?
Well, But what I really love about how stupid this is the order in which it happens and the time frame. All right. Here it is. Like day 29. Day 30, the month you have to put up the bond, otherwise they can execute and start seizing your shit. So here we are, day 29. Literally the afternoon before, the evening before, right? I'm gonna file a motion saying, hey, just reverse the judgment. Just reverse it. At the 11th hour. And if the judge is gonna do that, he's gotta do that like ASAP. He's gotta jump on it like this morning. Which of course he's not gonna do. Why would he fucking do that? Right? On top of that, okay, so first motion, just reverse it. The 11th hour. Okay, a few minutes later. Oh, and if that doesn't work, can you reduce the amount? Or, give us another trial. Just throwing every fucking thing at the wall to see what sticks, man. It's so fucking hilarious. Oh, did you freeze on me there? Jesus, no, yeah. God. You just don't find it as funny as I do, apparently.
I find it super obnoxious, actually. Like, because if I were a judge getting this stupid shit across my desk, I would be like, are you high? Did you get dropped on your head? Like, what the fuck is your problem? I would be so irritated. Irritated at how late it is, and irritated about how just stupid it was.
Oh, God. Completely stupid.
And kind of insulting. Why don't you just reverse it? Like, really?
Well, and then...
No.
I think he gets into it later, but I'll just sum it up real quick. In her motion and affidavit, she basically says, well, this trial should have been a mistrial because you didn't let Trump say everything he wanted to say. So really, it's your fault, Your Honor. Oh, and by the way, can you reverse it? It's like, it just fucking kills me.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, because if he does anything, when you say something like that, if he does anything, he's basically conceding that, okay, yeah, it was my fault. Why would he do that? Especially when it wasn't his fault.
No.
Oh, man. So just incredibly stupid. And then we'll cut through. There's a couple articles we can look at real quick, but just we'll go in here. So basically, yeah, the judge in the civil case, the civil fraud case, denied his request to delay the enforcement of the $355 million penalty. That comes up in like 20 days, less than that. So that's going to be $460 million with interest right now. So he's going to have to come up with close to $500 million for a bond or some sort of cash payment, or put up his properties, which I don't think he has. I don't think he can do that. And then the E.G. and Carroll one, we just looked at that. They requested a new trial, which was all stupid. And then E.G. and Carroll's response was, her lawyer's response was basically, there's no legal basis for this. This is bullshit. We want our money. And this is, you got to remember, this is all after last week when they basically said to the judge, hey, can we get an extra stay on this? Right? They've already asked this several times. And, judge, and their argument was, well, Trump's got the money. E.G. and Carroll's lawyer argued that, yeah, he says he's worth billions and all this. So Trump's good for it. So you don't have to worry about it. So you can just give us a stay on the execution of the judgment because we're good for it. And then E.G. Carroll's lawyer came back and said, fuck that. No. He just got tagged for almost $500 million in the fraud trial. We want our money now. We're first in line.
If he's good for it, pay it.
Yeah, then he should just pay it. But that's the thing, is if he had the money, he would have paid it and put the stay on it, because he doesn't lose that money until he loses an appeal.
Right.
So he could have just put a stay on all this and delayed having to pay all this shit. I mean, the money would be, in an escrow account, essentially with the court, but he could have delayed a lot of this shit and nobody would be trying to go seize his properties or seize his bank accounts. But now, once that clock hits, her lawyer is ready to go. $83.3 million. she is locked, cocked, and ready to rock. She's probably already sent the paperwork over to the sheriffs and the FBI and said, I want this done now. And they have to execute. So we'll see next week, because it might be that, that they're starting to seize his properties. It takes a while to do all that shit, but that'll lock him up. He won't be able to do anything with them. They'll be frozen. On top of the fact that he can't do business right now in New York. So,
might as well just seize some of that property since he can't do anything anyway.
Yep. So he's got to come up with some money somehow. What can he do? What can he do? Well, what can Trump do to raise money to pay off all these debts he has? Let's see. He does have a SPAC. For those of you guys who don't know, a SPAC is a special acquisitions company, corporation, something like that. Anyway, the way it works is this, is I create, let's say Lacey owns a company, and they make widgets. I create an investment shell company and put it on the market, on the stock market, and basically say, okay, investors, give me your money. I'm going to either merge or acquire a widget company, right, or something like that. And so investors will give the money, speculating. They're basically betting on me being able to pull off a deal, is what it is. And then I'll go and say, okay, Lacey's company, Lacey, hey, I want to either buy out your company or merge with your company. And then your company would go public on the market. So it'd be good for you, it'd be good for me. All right. Investors tend to lose money on these, but sometimes they do really well. So that's what's happened here. Is there's a company called DWAC. It's a shell company. It's a SPAC. That's all they did was they put out the stock. They don't do anything. And they wanted to merge with a social media company. And they bought out, or they're merging, with Truth Social. They started this back in like 2021. Usually these things only last 2 years. And they tried to merge. There was a bunch of filings, corruption, lawsuits. The SEC had a ton of investigations in them for insider trading, fraud, embezzlement, all kinds of shit. It was bad. Finally, they got through all that. The SEC approved it recently, that this could go through. So they're going to vote here in March 22nd, I think is the date. And the vote's going to be whether or not we go through with the SPAC. However, the two guys who are Trump's partners, who were both on The Apprentice too, which I think is hilarious, that he fired on The Apprentice. They didn't even make it to the end. Those are the two guys that built Truth Social. They got 8% of Truth Social, like 8.6. Well, what happened was initially, because Truth Social, Trump estimates it's worth $5 to $25 million. I don't know what it's actually worth. It doesn't really make any money. There's only like 6 million subscribers. There can't be that much advertising. So let's take him at his word and let's say it's worth 25. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's worth that. At 25 million, you know, if we're issuing 1 million shares, that's $25 a share. So initially they were going to do something like that, like 1.2 million shares. Mm-hmm. But Trump and the DWAC people said, okay, well, now that we're going to do that, we want it to be more money and investors' money. So we're going to issue over 1 billion shares. And Trump's like, and Trump's getting like 79 million of them, so he's getting like 8%. Right? Or whatever it is. Yeah, it's about 8%, so 7.9%. So this deal went through, and all the Trumpers jumped in and put money in, and the stock price shot up to like 50 at one point, and then it's come down. But that means if this thing passes and it goes public, Trump now has 79 million shares at whatever it is, 40 or 50 bucks a share. So it's got like $4 billion, $3 or $4 billion. Right? Here's the catch to a SPAC, though. Because what happens is now all of a sudden I have all this money, right? Lacey and I have all this money from our SPAC because our investors have given us all this money. Well, we're going to be tempted to just sell the stock right away and get our cash. Well, we have it in cash, right? So we're going to sell while it's up. And then typically what happens with IPOs is you sell, all the people that own it sell right away. The price goes down. And then we wait till the price drops and then we buy it all back at the lower price. So we just made a shit ton of money and still retained all of our stock. And because we did it quick enough, we did it within 30 days, it's a wash sale, so there's no tax on the gains for any of that shit. So, kind of a fucking awesome deal. It's like free money. Right? Well, with SPACs, they recognize this is a problem. So, SPACs, you have to wait 6 months before you can sell your shares after they issue. So, Trump can't get the money right away unless the shareholders vote to allow him to do that, which would be stupid because then it immediately devalues all their shares. Because then they lose money, right? The other thing he could do is he could take those shares and he could like gift them to somebody like Don Jr. or somebody and say, okay, Don Jr., I'm gifting these to you. And Don Jr. could then go get a loan against them and give him the money. But nobody's going to give him a loan while they're locked up. And furthermore, in 6 months, this could be worthless because it's all predicated on Truth Social, which isn't worth $1 billion. It's worth maybe 25 million at most. So now if you're a shareholder, every share is worth like what, a hundredth or a thousandth of a penny? I mean, it's fucking worthless, and you paid $50 for it per share.
I literally do not know one single person who uses or talks about Truth Social.
No. I mean, it's such a niche, but it's all dependent on these people are betting he's going to win the election and stuff. Well, if that's not the case or things are looking bad by August or September, I mean, this stock could tank and he doesn't get the billions. It ends up being nothing again.
Right.
But the other thing was, so he's got to worry about, so these two guys that initially started with him, when they moved it from 1.2 million to like $1 billion, they didn't include them in that. So their actual portion now is like a fraction of a percent. So they're suing. So now they can't vote until after this lawsuits get settled. So it delays this even further.
Oh my God.
On top of that, the CEO of DWAC, the guy who's running it, has basically said, fuck this, I want more money. Otherwise, I'm not going to vote for it. And if he doesn't vote for it, then it's not going to go through. So, I mean, this whole thing is a shit show. But they had to file all these other risk factors. So if you're an investor in this, you're getting screwed. If you're a Trump investor, this is not, there's no way this is going to make money. This is a meme stock. It's like GameStop. All these people put all this money in GameStop, right, to try and boost the company. But GameStop's not worth it. So at one point, GameStop's stock went up to whatever, over 100, right, a share. But GameStop's not, it's not even worth fucking $2 or $3 a share, hardly. They don't make any money. They lose money. So plus you got to factor in all these other risks. But at least GameStop makes some money. It's hard to say what Truth Social actually makes and what all the risks are. So they had to do all the extra filings with the SEC recently. And Ben Meiselas covers this again. So these are called S4s. And he'll go through it and I'll explain it a little bit. But this is just fucking hilarious to me.
Take public, and then they file the S4, which is the merger document. This is the merger document. And here's what it says. A number of companies that were associated with Donald Trump have filed for bankruptcy. There can be no assurances that Trump Media Group will also not become bankrupt. Headline 1 right there, buried. Headline's buried on page 132. Next. A number of companies that had license agreements with Donald Trump have failed. There can be no assurances that Trump Media will also not fail. So these are red flag, red flag, red flags.
So the risks are just exuberant, right? On top of the fact, we just talked about it, he has to pay all these, he has to pay the bonds or something, put a stay on the judgments for New York, for the E. Jean Carroll for 83.3 in New York for 460, whatever it is now. Well, Agent Carroll, if he doesn't pay that, they can start seizing assets. There's nothing that says they can't seize Trump Media Group, where he's the sole owner.
Oh, snap.
Or the state of New York can't. And if this goes through and he gets the stock, guess what? The stocks are assets. They could seize the stocks. And if they do get a hold, and they might do that, because if they get a hold of them, they can now immediately sell them. They don't have to sit on it for 6 months. So if you're an investor and they take a $500 million, right, in stock and sell them to satisfy the judgment, guess what? The stock price just plummeted, and you just got screwed. So this is basically, if you're an investor in this, you are gonna get fucked. There's no, unless like the stars align and Trump wins the election by a lot, and all of a sudden all of us decide to join Truth Social, and all the advertisers go there, and we all say, yeah, we like all the racist, sexist shit on Truth Social. We all of a sudden want to hear from Donald Trump every day. Yeah, if that magically happens, you'll probably make some money. If it doesn't, you're fucked.
You know what? Somebody should write that dystopia book.
Oh.
Maybe make it like a dystopian graphic novel or something, where like
Right.
half the universe happens or some craziness like that.
I think they
Oh, man.
I think they made a movie like that where the Nazis actually won World War II.
Oh man.
Anyway, so get this. So we're going to take a quick look. So this is DWAC, Digital World Acquisition Corp. This is the SPAC.
God, that name kills me.
Yeah, well, it's a SPAC, so it's just a shell company. So this is the shell company that bought out Truth Social. And I just want to look at this real quick. So here it is when the Trumpers all jumped in when they found out about this, that it was going to get approved back at the end of February. So this is a couple days ago, right? Or this is a couple years ago. When they first announced the merger, it shot way up. And then when they hit all the legal troubles, so it was up to like, God, what was it? It was something ridiculous. It was like 90 something, almost $100 a share. And then when they hit the legal troubles, blam, $12 a share, $13 a share. So you just lost almost 90% of your money. Right? And
Yeah,
then
that's cool.
came back in, and it just recently shot up. Here, let's look at just the last. Kind of recently shot up, and then it's gone down. Recently shot up, gone down. Recently shot up, gone down. As all this news comes out, this thing is so volatile because nobody knows if it's gonna go through, if it's gonna plunder, if it's gonna, what's gonna happen. But what we do all know is the business we're buying is owned by a guy who's just been fined $355 million for fraud, can no longer do business in the state of New York. Fortunately, Trump Media Group's in Florida. But he can't get loans anymore. Hardly. Especially not in New York or any bank that banks in New York. So he's got to get it from some private something that doesn't bank in New York. And on top of that, we're talking about a guy who's been bankrupt, what, 6-7 times? A guy who's notorious for not paying his bills. A guy who's notorious for not paying his employees. A guy who's notorious for screwing everybody over. And you're investing in this hoping that it's going to work out at 1 billion shares. It dilutes the entire value.
That's a crazy risk to take because, I mean, I don't know about you, Duncan, but when I was taught to buy stocks, you look at the leadership, right? You look at the leadership, and I mean, there's a lot of things you look at, but one of the things is, who's leading the charge here, and what's their story, right? To see if this is like somebody you want leading the charge,
Right.
And also, debt is another thing that you want to be looking at, right?
Right.
I'm not investing in something that's got that kind of debt load. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it like you're talking about fundamental analysis, yeah, you're looking at a couple things. What are the earning potential? What do you think the forward potential is going to be of the company? Do they have like new products or something interesting coming out? Because in this case, Truth Social's got nothing new coming out. It's all hinged on Trump being president again. And
right?
we'll see how likely that is. But there's that, and the fact is you got to sit there and read. Well, what are all the risks? And the main risk is it all hinges on one guy who's notorious for not paying his bills, for being a deadbeat.
And that one guy who's notorious for not paying his bills has just racked up a serious amount of debt, which you just went over extensively, some of the ways in which that can absolutely screw investors.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, really just those factors alone would be a big fat no for me already.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing is you're just begging to get raked here financially. So there's that. Okay, so that's one way Trump could raise money. We'll see how likely that is or how it works out. It's still going to take the better part of the year for him to figure that whole thing out. But so he doesn't have that money. He needs money right away. How is Trump going to raise money to pay back all these legal fines? How is he going to do it? Introduce
He could convince him to get his haircut. We could all get his weird little haircut.
Yeah. Sell his toupee.
Right.
Or he could issue a new product. What exciting new products is he going to issue? He issued Trump's
pay.
Yep, he issues Trump sneakers. And we'll look at these bad boys in a second. And the Republicans are very excited about the Trump sneakers. So he issued them at like SneakerCon convention, whatever it is. And they sold like 1,000 of them at $400 a pair. They're like $3.99 a pair. And couple catches. First off, they sold 1,000 of them. They haven't made the 1,000 of them. They don't even have a factory set up yet. They don't have the ability to make them yet. It's going to be months before they can. So these people that bought them aren't going to get them for months and months. If they get them. On top of that, he's got another problem. We'll get to that in a second. But the Republicans and the conservatives got really excited about this. And for an absolutely not completely racist, except it's an incredibly racist reason. You're going to love this.
Oh, my.
Here's Michael Steele.
If you want to know what Trump campaign staffers think about you, just watch Fox News, like this weekend, when they gushed over Donald Trump's new ploy for money. A limited edition series of gaudy gold $400 Trump sneakers. And like they always do on Fox, somebody said the quiet part out loud on what the big sneaker strategy is really all about.
Even the sneaker thing. I was on social media last night. Very interesting, as you see black support eroding from Joe Biden. This is connecting with black America because they love sneakers. They're into sneakers. They love this is a big deal, certainly in the inner city. So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump...
Look at her face.
Wow. Okay.
Did you really just say the blackies who all live in the inner city love the sneakers, so if we dangle some sneakers in front of them like keys in front of a baby, they're going to do whatever we want? Is that what you just fucking said? On national television? From the whitest fucking... Look at this guy. The whitest fucking guy ever.
Wow.
I was going to say that if there was a poster child for Whitey, it would be that fucking guy.
Oh my goodness.
Any comments, Liz?
No.
God, no, you're just
I guess I'll let you know if I see those shoes walk into my classroom.
You won't.
I feel like that will not happen.
No.
I feel like those shoes are not going to come walking through my door.
No, I doubt
Yeah.
it. Man, I just love it though. I mean, they're so predictably racist. I mean, it's like sneakers, black people. It's like, what the? A lot of people like sneakers. What are you talking about? Well, there's another small problem with the sneakers, and I'm gonna have this is what's his name? Farron forget his last name, but he has a show called Fair and Balanced. Farron's going to talk about this real quick. There's one other little itty-bitty problem with the sneakers. Whoops.
This past weekend that he is selling golden sneakers with beautiful red bottoms for $400 a pop in order to, put more money in his pocket because he's facing over $500 million in legal fines. And the shoes, for the record, did sell out in a matter of hours, even though the shoes technically don't exist yet. They are still in the manufacturing process, and orders are not even expected to be shipped until July or August at the earliest. So if you did drop $400 on your Trump sneakers, you're going to have to wait months. You'll probably forget you even ordered them by the time they even ship. And in spite of that, by the way, they're still going for a premium on eBay. People are selling their pre-orders for thousands of dollars, and people are buying them. So Trump...
I forgot about that. That cracks me up, too. So these people, sneaker cut, some of these people were smart because they know Trumpers are idiots that'll blow all their money on this shit. So they bought them for $3.99, knowing they wouldn't get them. They just got the pre-order card, whatever it is, right? Then they went on eBay, sold the pre-order for the sneakers to the Trump idiots for like $5,000-$10,000. And these people cleaned up. A sucker born every minute.
Oh, man. That's insane.
Let's watch another second of this. I hope we can sit to this, but God, it's just crazy to me. Trump sneakers.
Trump did this, of course, to raise money for himself because he's in a financial crunch. Now, the real irony here, according to analysts, is that he's probably going to get sued for it. And here's why. Courts around the globe have already determined that Louis Vuitton owns the trademark on red-soled shoes. That, of course, is the hallmark of Louis Vuitton's. That red bottom, it's world-famous red bottom shoes. And Donald Trump has a red bottom on his sneakers. The sole of the sneakers is red.
So they might not even be able to take them to manufacturing because Louis Vuitton will can sue them and put a cease and desist order. Okay, so the SPAC not looking great. Okay, the sneakers not looking great. How else? How else can Trump raise money? He needs money. Remember, he's got $500 million. He's got to pay off. He's got to do it quick. He needs the money. How else could he do? He could ask somebody for it. What if, I don't know, he asked a famous billionaire and said, "Hey,
maybe a famous crazy billionaire."
Yeah, could you give me the money? Could you loan me the money? Help me out. But who? Who would we ask? Who possibly could we ask? Let's see.
All right, welcome back here to the Hill on.
Let's go into this. Here we go.
News Nation. So for years, we have seen Republicans that sometimes trash Donald Trump, only to then flip and tout him.
This man is a pathological liar. Donald Trump is a serial philanderer.
Tonight, in nominating Judge Gorsuch, President...
Oh, God. Forget Trump. Ted Cruz. I just wanted... So they did. They asked Elon Musk. They invited him to Mar-a-Lago and asked him for $1 billion to bail out Trump with all his legal shit and the Republicans. They asked him for $1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. And... I know people like the liberal media, not even the liberal media, just the moderate media and stuff, were freaking out about, well, that's terrible because if Trump owes all this money and somebody gives it to him, then he's beholden to them and it's, he's bribed and that's not good for a public official, right? If he becomes president again.
I mean, that's all fair, yeah.
Well, they're like, and if Elon Musk gives him $1 billion, then Elon Musk would basically own the presidency. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Elon's stupid, but he's not that stupid. Because Elon knows, okay, if I give them the money and he becomes president, it doesn't mean that Trump's going to reciprocate. if I make you the most powerful man in the world, how am I supposed to expect you to then owe me? You can always just tell me to fuck off at that point. What can I do? Nothing. So Elon knows he'd just be throwing away $1 billion. And, you know, he's already had a rough few years. He just threw away half his fortune on fucking Twitter. I mean...
Now he wants to throw it away on Trump and Truth Social and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But Elon has made stupid decisions in the past, so maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Well, he didn't. So here's Haberman on CNN. I like her; she's pretty sharp, but she's going to talk about Elon Musk real quick.
The second richest man in the world, Elon Musk, posting on X today, and I'm quoting him now. Just to be super clear, I am donating money to either candidate for U.S. president. That in response to the reporting that he met with Donald Trump in Palm Beach at his Mar-a-Lago club over the weekend, as his campaign and the candidate himself desperately need money. I'm joined now by one of the reporters who broke that story, New York Times.
So, So Musk said no. He said, pound sand. I'm not giving you $1 billion. Especially from a guy who's notorious for never paying anybody back. It's his whole motto is never pay. If you don't have to, right?
Right, he basically doesn't pay taxes. He gets into a bunch of declares bankruptcies for all of his businesses. Yeah, I mean, his motto basically is don't pay.
He's notorious for not paying employees. He's notorious for not paying fines. He's notorious for not paying legal fines. He's notorious for the little girls that sang at his rallies. He didn't pay them. They had to sue him, and they won, and they got their money. He got sued by 10-year-old girls who sang at his rallies. That's how much of a scumbag this guy is. I mean, not to mention insurrection and rape are also feathers in his cap, but at least Musk was smart enough to walk away. Musk is still a scumbag. I'm not gonna defend him.
And let's not forget crazy.
Yeah. Crazy scumbag.
He's like pretty far out there.
Yeah.
Pretty far out there. He's not the good kind of crazy. Like the way out there crazy.
Yeah, he's like the anti-Semitic, racist kind of crazy,
Yeah, not the fun crazy. Yeah, the other one.
Not the good guy. Well, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll do some clips.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Yep, I gotta go to the bathroom anyway, so that's good.
Cool. All right, we're back. We're going to get into some fun stuff now. You ready to do some fun stuff? Now that we've covered the news. All right. Let's go to this. So, recently, every few years they do this study where they do who the best and worst president is. Right? And it's usually all these social science professors, academics, political science professors, whatever. It's usually like 150 or 200 of them. And they all do their own ranking. And then they sort of compile them and give you the thing, right? So sometimes some guys are higher than others on some lists and lower than others on others. But there was one person that got pretty much unanimous score, and that was Donald Trump. And Fox News was not happy about the result. So we're going to jump right in.
Oh gosh. You know what? This is my reward for all of that really aggravating news.
Yeah, here we go.
A new ranking, and I'm going to add, in my view, a highly questionable ranking of presidents, is turning heads after Biden came in higher than both Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan in his wildest dreams. The survey was done by the Presidential Greatness Project, who claim to be the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics. They may be the foremost example of the disconnect between ivory tower academia and real people. That aside, Abe Lincoln ranked first. Okay, fair. Then comes Obama at 7th, and Biden came in 14th, actually beating Ronald Reagan, who came in 16th, and Trump dead last. Look at.
Shut up. Oh, I felt my Scroogey little heart just grow 3 sizes in that moment.
See, you eat your Brussels sprouts, you get dessert. And I gotta tell you, so here's what's so funny about this too is the ivory tower academics, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Everybody's sitting there on that panel's making millions a year. Your average professor's making what? 60,000? Academics, ivory tower, my ass. I mean, they're working stiffs. I mean, they work. But this is not the organization that put it together. It wasn't the organization that did the ratings. This was done by independent people. So there wouldn't be a bias. And then they just compiled them. So the thing about it is, yeah, some guys had Obama like 2 or 3. Some of them had him like 20. Right? Some had Biden like, 8 or 9. Some had him like 25 or 30, right? It depends, right? There's some variance between these. The one thing that was consistent on all of them, it was like 150 plus of these. Nobody rated Trump higher than 44th out of 47.
So the best ranking out of 47 he got was 44. The best ranking.
Right. Which means he even got beat by Zachary Taylor, who died in office after a few months from a stomach infection.
And Nixon?
And Nixon got rated higher. Andrew Jackson got rated higher.
Andrew Jackson got rated higher. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
The Indian genocide. Trump is worse.
When you get ranked worse than Andrew Jackson, than Nixon, then oh my goodness.
Well, when you leave office with less jobs than when you started, the economy's in the tank, you fucked up a pandemic, and by the time he left, 500,000 Americans had died. That's more than we lost in the Civil War. And I know some people out there, well, we lost more than that in the Civil War. I'm like, I don't count the Confederates. They were not Americans. They seceded from the United States. They don't count. They're not our guys. So, Jesus Christ. But yep, Fox is, they were really upset about this. We can watch another minute of it, but it just cracks me up. They are really trying to cope with this.
Lisa, where to begin? This is infuriating in so many ways. 154 respondents. They are the ivory tower elites who in no way represent the view of the American people.
Before we let Lisa speak, let's just cover what we have so far heard. It's Fox News on President's Day. Learning.
We'll cut that out, but it's like, Jesus. Yep. So that's Ben Glebe from the Young Turks, and he's covering this, but it's just ridiculous. Of course he's the worst. I mean, everything was worse. I mean, the economy tanked. What legislation did they pass other than a tax cut for the rich? They didn't really pass anything.
You know, if you think about it, Fox News really has to throw a hissy fit here because they're positioned to have to sing his praises basically all year.
Right.
So they can go in and treat this study like it's reputable or it's got any, teeth to it at all, and then turn around and spend the entire year singing his praises in hopes that people will vote for him,
Yeah. No, it's all fucking stupid. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they, like you said, I just like the ivory tower thing. It's like, you guys went to college, professors, their offices are usually like a shoebox. They're like the size of a closet usually. I mean, you're not talking about...
and they work closets because they frequently don't even have a window,
Right, they make most of their money doing shit like this. Getting grants or doing these other side projects. They don't make a whole ton of money teaching. So I don't know what this whole the ivory tower academic thing comes from. It's not like these people are fucking ultra wealthy. You know who makes the most money at any major college? Fucking football coach. Makes millions. Well, your average faculty member who has a PhD is making 60,000, 70,000. I mean, it's fucked up. So I don't know what she's talking about, especially from a millionaire like her. But
yeah, I was looking at positions at colleges and universities and whatnot, being like, oh, maybe I would like to teach there, and then I was like, oh, no, I don't.
No.
I really don't. I make more teaching in a high school.
Well, yeah. No, I teach, but I teach for fun because the money sucks. Right. I teach just because I can put it on my resume. It looks good. But yeah, no, the money sucks for professors, especially if you're an adjunct. Anyway, we'll move on. Okay, so, we got to pile in on Alina Habba one more time. I couldn't resist. Could not resist today. So, Trump, okay, so she's pretty much been fired, it looks like. But Trump's going to trial in New York here for fraud, for criminal fraud, where he could be looking at, a decade or 16 plus years in prison, right? Whatever it is. And his main key witness to defend him also testified in the civil fraud trial, which is semi-related to this. And that was his former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, who I want to remind everybody, no degree in accounting, no experience in accounting, no experience in finance, no degrees in finance. But he was the CFO of Trump Organization, knows nothing about finance, and he was the chief financial officer for decades. So anyway, he testified to that. That's not just me making shit up. Anyway, Alan Weisselberg, but he doesn't know where the bodies are buried because he handled all the money. He was Trump's key witness. Well, it turns out he lied in the civil case, committed perjury on the stand, and he just pled guilty to perjury, which means he just flipped on Trump for a lesser deal. So we're going to jump right into this.
As we continue to follow this breaking news from the Supreme Court, we also have breaking news involving the ex-Trump org CFO, Alan Weisselberg, who this morning surrendered to the Manhattan DA's office to face new charges. NBC's Tom Winter is joining us now. What do we know about these new charges, Tom?
Yes, Anna, late details from court, and our colleague Adam Reese, who was in the courtroom, Alan Weisselberg, taken in handcuffs. He has pleaded guilty to 2 counts of perjury in the first degree. Originally, they were going to charge him with 5 counts, but it's now 2 counts that he's pleading guilty to. He's admitted his guilt. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is recommending a sentence of 5 months in jail. If he violates the terms of his sentencing and of his probation, he could ultimately face 7 years in jail. He'll be out pending his sentencing, which will be on April 10th.
So he just took the plea deal, and it was a sweet deal because it could have been worse because he just got out of jail last year for a plea deal he took, and he technically violated it by lying in court, which is why if he fucks this up, he's got to do the full time on that plea and the full time on this plea. So he just did whatever it was, 6 months or whatever, 90 days. I can't remember what it was. And now he's looking at, okay, well, we'll give you 5 more months in jail. And if you fuck up and you lie again in court or whatever, 7 years. And at his age, I mean, fuck. That's almost a decade in prison. He'd probably die in prison. Good chance he could. Anyway.
Yeah, well, and honestly, like lying for someone else, is that going to be worth that to you? Hell no. Hell no.
Well, and he's got another incentive. When the first plea, they let him walk with several $1 million, like $2 or $3 million. I can't remember what the total was with his bonus. They didn't seize that. So he's got that, but they could still go back and seize it because he violated his plea deal. So he'd be in prison and fucking broke. So, yeah.
Wow.
So that's Trump's key witness. And guess who's not testifying on Trump's behalf now? They could call him.
It's like hot potato.
Yep.
Hot potato.
So things are not looking good for Trump in this criminal trial, man. And it really cracks me up because Alina Habba, now we're getting to her, tried to cover some of this shit up because she was the one who had him perjure in court. And just so you know, kids, fun fact, if I'm the lawyer and Lacey's the witness, and she tells a lie on the stand to a question I asked her, and I know she lied, I am now guilty of perjury. Unless I stop the trial right there and talk to the judge in private and tell him, look, the witness just fucking lied on the stand. If I don't do that, I'm also guilty of perjury. Guess what Alina Habba did do? She asked him a question. Guess what he did? He lied. Guess what? She knew about it. Guess what? She didn't say anything. So now she's in deep shit. So we're going to jump in with Ben Meisalas real quick. I know we keep going back to the Midas touch, but all the legal shit, we got to use them to cover because they're lawyers.
As we repeatedly say on the Midas Touch Network, MAGA stands for Make Attorneys Get Attorneys. And Donald Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba and Cliff Robert, are, in my opinion, in very big trouble after not candidly disclosing to Justice Arthur Engoron when he asked about the status of the plea negotiations of Alan Weisselberg, who on Monday pled guilty to multiple felony perjury counts in connection with his false and perjurious statements during the New York Attorney General's civil fraud case, both during depositions and at the trial itself. There is a concept under the law called suborning perjury, and there are serious issues now being raised and questions being asked if Alina Habba and Cliff Robert were involved in suborning perjury. And those questions, I think, will need to be resolved forthwith.
So that I forgot about that second part. So not only did she suborn is the term I was looking for, suborn perjury during the trial, but afterwards, while Engoron, the judge, was doing his judgment, the news popped up that Weisselberg might be pleading to perjuring himself in the trial that Engoron was writing the judgment on, and Engoron didn't know that. And so Engoron wrote both the plaintiff and Alina Habba and her partner and said, what's going on with this? Did he perjure himself in my court? What's going on? I need to know this because I'm writing the judgment. And Alina Habba lied to him in her response, saying, no, he didn't. And she actually attacked the judge in her response. It was really stupid. But so now she's lied to the judge. I think you're on mute, Lace. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Accidentally hit the button.
That's okay.
Oh, God. I was like, just thinking, I mean, God, she's probably really never going to work again, is she? I mean,
I don't know. She's already looking at millions in fines for other shit, and she's being sued by that woman that she screwed over in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, all this stuff compiling, but I was like, God, why are you going to do that to yourself? But, I mean, it's like throwing more on top of the heap at this point. Like, maybe at a certain point, she's like, screw it, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's jump into this. So I got another fun kind of Trump sycophant for you. Only this guy was on CNBC, which kind of, you know, as a finance person, this kind of pissed me off a little bit. But we'll jump into the soap. This guy on CNBC, he's got Pete Buttigieg, who's the Secretary of Transportation, on, and he's grilling him about the border. Just like, okay, why would you invite the Secretary of Transportation on for that? I don't understand that. It doesn't seem like that would be in his purview, unless he oversees transportation across the border. I don't know. But, so he's racking him on the border, and Buttigieg stands up to him and basically smacks the shit out of him. It's pretty funny. We're going to jump into that. So this is their little interview.
Hold on, let's be clear here. Let me finish first. But every time we hear those talking points that suddenly it was Republicans who ruined the border, That's why people get so frustrated. We know what President Biden said about inviting people in. We know that he got rid of all the things that were keeping the border closed that President Trump had put in. We know that he got rid of all those. So when you say it's not his fault.
So I don't know if you notice Pete Buttigieg shaking his head, because that's bullshit. Biden didn't change that much about Trump's policies. In fact, Biden's been pretty draconian on the border. He just tried to keep it quiet.
That's literally not true. It's literally not true that he got rid of the
Did you see 7.2
separation?
Did you see 7.2 million people come in during the Trump administration? It was a trickle.
He got rid of the policy to tear children out of the arms of their parents. That's true. But it is not true. Some of the other things that have been suggested. Let's be clear. Bipartisan.
So I want to jump back to that. So that's a great point right there, which is, look, the only thing we changed is we're not taking kids away from their parents and throwing them in cages. Like we did under the Trump administration. We're not doing that anymore. Okay? So yeah, he stopped doing that. That's terrible. Yeah, we should be doing that again. No, it was horrible.
We definitely need those kids in cages? Like, are you serious?
Yeah. On top of that, he's like, okay, the one thing Pete doesn't address, and I don't know that he should, but he's like, okay, you got 7.2 million people. Really, we have a ton of people coming over from the border. That has nothing to do with Biden. That has to do with the economy. Right? Because you could sit there and say, yeah, in Trump's last year in office, almost nobody came across the border. You know why? It was fucking COVID. It was a pandemic. Nobody was traveling. Basically, everything was locked down. There were no jobs. You come across the border, you weren't going to get work. But now we have a very, very good economy, and we have a very tight labor market, which means there's more jobs than there are workers. And so if you're coming from Guatemala or Mexico or wherever it is, Costa Rica, and you're broke, and you're sitting there thinking, okay, I want to come to the U.S. and get asylum or whatever it is, El Salvador, Venezuela, whatever. I mean, the U.S. has lots of jobs. And these people are looking for work. So yeah, you have a ton of people coming up here now because they heard there's lots of work in the U.S. And it's true. So yeah, it's not Biden's issue, it's the economy's issue. So we'll get back to this, but Buttigieg smacks him around some more.
Part of the problem with why there's a disconnect
taken place in 2015, 2006. I mean, literally since the Reagan administration, right? There have been bipartisan efforts to get something done here, but I really believe we've gotten to the point where many congressional Republicans find it so useful as a cudgel that they would rather keep the problem going for political uses than solve the problem and risk the chance that the president could share in the credit for that. In the same way that we see.
So I want to get into that. So that's Buttigieg's big kickback. So he's saying, well, look, Biden's being soft on the border. Biden's not doing enough about the border, blah, 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 blah. Buttigieg's saying, well, wait a second. The Senate just passed a bipartisan bill that basically gave the Republicans everything they wanted on the border in return for aid to Ukraine. And it went to the House, and looked like they were going to take it. And then Trump said, no, don't do the bill. Don't pass it. Because I want to be able to run on Biden's bad on the border. So don't solve the problem. Then when I get into office, we'll pass the bill and I can take credit for it.
Well, given he has no platform, I guess he's got to figure out something to run on.
Well, and Mike Johnson went with it. And that's the thing is, to sit there and say, okay, well, it's the Democrats and it's Biden that's not doing anything about the border. Well, no, they just pushed this bill through, and the Republicans shot it down because Trump told them to do it. So they fucked it, so why are you blaming us? We brought something to the table that gave you everything you wanted, and you guys shut it down because you want to be able to complain about it, which is what he's fucking doing right now.
Some of them, even though we had great bipartisan cooperation on the infrastructure bill that I work on, a lot of them who were against that, only to turn around and try to get credit for it when we actually have a ribbon cutting or a groundbreaking.
The reason that some of these numbers stay where they are is because it just seems like instead of actually owning some of the issues that we have, instead of acknowledging that the president maybe has lost a step, The administration keeps saying, "Don't believe your lying eyes," and that's why you're
respectfully, Joe,
that's why you're at 18%.
Respectfully, I think congressional Republicans are saying, "Don't believe your lying eyes," which is why they're polling at about 15% right now.
I know that
right
Congress
now,
is never. Congress isn't running for
economic numbers.
president.
Is it my lying eyes that under Joe Biden we've had the most job creation in American history? Is it my lying eyes telling us that unemployment and inflation are both below 4% and have been that way for the longest time in who knows when? Is it reality or is it spin to point out the fact that manufacturing jobs are up under this president and we're down under the last president? These are matters of simple fact.
When we heard for 3 years the border's closed and it's secure, and New York said it's closed, and 7.2 million people have come into where our big cities have no idea how to handle this, and then you hear from the administration that it's not their fault.
This is really important, okay? The common sense position, and the position that, by the way, a lot of moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans would always say, the kinds of things that you hear at the Chamber of Commerce in Indiana, where I come from, is that there ought to be more legal immigration and less illegal immigration. And yet when there's a chance to actually do that, that's not what happened. The last administration cut legal immigration. And meanwhile, our economy is pulling people just as much as terrible conditions in Latin America are pushing people. And when there's finally a bipartisan compromise that would help address at least some of those issues, congressional Republicans couldn't get it done because Donald Trump, who's not even in elected office, killed it. That is a fact.
That we'll see whether this moves the needle. I just think the American public just wants something that benefits them. They just.
That was his. Oh, we'll see. So Pete Buttigieg goes on to CNBC. This bullshit artist doing Trump's bidding. He's doing exactly what Trump wants. And Pete Buttigieg just slaps Trump's dick right out of his mouth. Oh, well, we'll see how the needle moves.
Good job, Pete. Good job.
The only thing that pisses me off about this is CNBC. This is their finance channel. This guy's supposed to be doing financial analysis, and he's spewing bullshit about the border. Now, most financial people like me are going to watch that and go, this guy's full of shit. That's not what's happening. We know that. Why? Because we have to invest on that. Our money, we're putting our money on this. Our money is where our mouth is all the time. But if you're Joe Blow sitting at home and you're worried about your retirement, and you're sitting there like, oh, well, maybe I should watch the finance channel. Yeah, I'm watching the finance channel to see what I should be doing with my money. Then he's going to go to what? A commercial about buy gold because the recession's happening. We're being invaded by the Latinos.
Right.
And then these people get hurt. Then they invest their money in stupid shit. Because they're misinformed. You know, that's just what pisses me off.
It's honestly kind of like a shame on them sort of thing. Like, why are you doing all of that? Yeah.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to bitch about that because that guy's just an idiot. I mean, I couldn't believe how stupid that was. But we'll move on to something a little bit more important, more tangible. The Republicans are really, really upset about this, and it's it's kind of a horrible thing that's happening, but I don't know if I can say this. Taylor Swift went online and told people to vote. And that's just terrible, man.
Oh, man. You know what? And I got to tell you, there's no way those could be her own thoughts and opinions.
I know.
It could only be because somebody else owns her.
No, but you remember there's the big conspiracy, right? NATO and the Pentagon recruited Taylor Swift to endorse Joe Biden, and that's why she's dating Travis Kelce, who's the football player for the Kansas City Chiefs, who did a commercial for Pfizer to promote the vaccine, which, as we all know, is a Jewish conspiracy to kill whites, according to RFK Jr. And What else was there? Oh, and Kelsey was in the Super Bowl, which was also sponsored by Pfizer. And as we all know, Pfizer is run by the lesbian dentist cartel, who's in cahoots with the Easter Bunny. And it's April's coming up, so now we're in real shit. And April's also when taxes are, you see? It's all connected. But Fox News freaks out about Taylor Swift saying, hey, people should vote. And they should be, because Taylor's more liberal side, right? She kind of like leans just a little bit on, and she's more of a Biden supporter. She hasn't endorsed him or anything, but she's just not like, who gives a shit if a celebrity endorses you? I mean, I guess it matters because people vote for you, but yeah. So she's more left, and now the right is fucking freaking out that she said people go vote. Oh yeah, and we're gonna watch some of this. Fox News.
Now, she shouldn't be liberal. She should be a total conservative, given everything.
The Pentagon PSYOP unit pitched NATO on turning Taylor Swift into an asset.
Yesterday, she flew private from New York City to Baltimore. Yet she constantly talks about climate change. So just please don't believe everything Taylor Swift says. We're all begging you. I think she should just stick to her singing and let her love life be what it is.
The New York Times just speculated she's a lesbian.
A new poll shows 18% of voters are likely to vote for whichever candidate Taylor Swift endorses. Uh-oh.
Biden effectively has Taylor Swift as his VP.
A single post of hers led to 35,000 new registrants. That's arguably more power than the president.
She's sharing links. And her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, sponsored by Pfizer.
What's her stance on policy? Economic policy, foreign policy?
I don't think that'll be.
So don't get involved. Don't get involved in politics. We don't want to see you there.
And of course, we couldn't leave out.
If I were Taylor Swift, I might just like get bored and go, hey, you want to see something really funny?
What?
You want to watch me piss off like all of the right and send the media into an absolute frenzy? Hey guys, you should go vote. And if you're not voting, you should register. Registering to vote is cool. And post.
Well, yeah, but that's what they're scared about. Because she does have a lot of young fans. And she says, hey, you guys should get registered. And they go, yeah, Taylor Swift's right. I should go get registered. And then, because they listen to her. And then she says, yeah, and I like Biden. And they go, yeah, I'll look at Biden. Oh, yeah, I like Biden. Yeah, right. Or I like the Democrat. And that's why it freaks out the right. Because she's going to sway a lot of voters. And they know it.
Okay, well, let's also be honest. Okay, there are people all over the place that are Swifties, but I have to say, I grew up in the Midwest, which is more conservative, and there are so many Swifties in these conservative places, and I'm sure that's a part of why they're freaked out, because going back to what we were talking about before, you know, there's already a lot of people that are generally the sort of Republican camp, the conservative camp, that are already not willing to vote for Biden now that, you know, he's really the only person. And then, you know, she gets people registering to vote in these more conservative places, and they're sort of like, oh, I guess I'll look at that guy, you know?
Right, but
I think they're afraid of sort of this combination, you know?
Yeah, but but Biden doesn't have anything to do with that. I mean,
well, no.
I doubt Biden owns any Taylor Swift albums. Biden's still listening to shit from the 70s. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I doubt Biden has any Taylor Swift albums. And if he does, like, good for him. But probably not. No.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing, is they do realize that she does have some power. But I love, she just tweets, go vote. Which everybody should do anyway. It's just a nice little public service thing. It takes her freaking 20 seconds to tweet it, right? And Fox covers it for like 3 days straight. Well, it's because she's a white woman. That's what it is. She's a white woman from Tennessee. She shouldn't be doing this. She should be on our side. Right? We should own that one. Because who else do we have for celebrities? John Voight, Clint Eastwood, and with the guy from Charles in Charge. Do you think any of the fucking Gen Z or Gen Alpha kids know who those fucking people are? I barely know who they are.
Well, you know what? Some of the people that might have, been celebrities in the more conservative camp are going, I'm not touching this shit with a 10-foot pole. Like, it all looks too tumultuous to them, so they kind of just, well,
they don't really have
back away.
Yeah, they don't really have any celebrities. But yeah, Taylor Swift doing that just cracks me up. But yeah, Fox News lost their shit for the better part of a week over one fucking tweet from her. Amazing. Well, speaking of people losing their shit, you're gonna love this one. So, one of our favorite representatives in the House, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene was at Super Tuesday. She is desperately trying to be Trump's VP. She wants it so bad. She wants it like a tick wants blood. I mean, she is really sucking up to him. So she was there, and she gets interviewed by this British journalist, and it doesn't go well. I'm just going to leave it there. It does not go well.
Thank you so much, the news agents and from London. What do you think the message should be to Nikki Haley tonight?
Well, we've been encouraging her to drop out and support President Trump, and I think tonight is the clear message that President Trump is the clear front runner. He's the winner in our Republican primary, and it's time for Nikki Haley to drop out and support him.
Do you think President Trump, Mr. Trump, is closer to picking his VP, and should you be on that list?
Oh, that's the question everyone asks, and no, I don't think Nikki Haley should be on the list, but of course President Trump will choose who he wants for VP.
Would you like to be on that list?
He's got a long list. I support President Trump in any way he'd ask me, but I can assure you it won't be Nikki Haley.
And can you tell me why so many people that support Donald Trump love conspiracy theories, including yourself? He seems to attract lots of conspiracy theorists.
Well, let me tell you, you're a conspiracy theorist, and the left and the media spreads more conspiracy theories. We like the truth. We like supporting our Constitution, our freedoms, and America first. So.
What about Jewish space lasers? Tell us about Jewish space lasers.
No, why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers? And really, why don't you off? How about that?
Thanks. Thank you very much.
I'm the rubber, you're the glue. Like, what is this?
That was it. That's what they got. They've got the whataboutism shit. Like, you mentioned something like, Trump's an asshole. They're like, well, what about Biden? It's like, okay, well, we're not talking about Biden. We're talking about this, right? They do that. And the other one is, like you said, the great intellectual tradition of, I know you are, but what am I? You're a conspiracy theorist. You talk about Jewish space lasers. Fuck you.
Your mom. No, your mom. No, your mom. No, your mom.
And I love the British reporter thanks her at the end of it after she tells her to fuck off. Thank you. And she smiles at the camera. Yep, I got that clip. That one's going viral.
Yeah. Yep, good job, good job. And she pats herself on the back.
Got her.
Go.
I love too. The liberal media did it. She's British. She doesn't even vote in this country. Why? She's not the liberal. She's the British media. I don't know if she's on the liberal side. I don't know if she's with Labor. I don't fucking know. But it's like they always have. No, you're biased. You're like you said, the great intellectual tradition of I know you are, but what am I? That's all she's got. But she's had a rough week. She's desperate to be Trump's VP, I can tell you that. But I'm not sure she's on the radar. And, I mean, she's also had a little bit of another problem. So, the Museum of Confluences in France, they did an exhibit where they showed the different species of humans, hominids, right? So our evolution, kind of, right? And why a lot of them went extinct and we're still alive, right? And, previous to us, like the Cro-Magnon lived for millions of years, right? So Cro-Magnon was one of the big displays they had. So this was their display of a Cro-Magnon couple that they made. You see that?
Oh.
Guess who was really not happy about this?
Do tell.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was not too thrilled about that. Let me see if I can pull this out. Yeah, it's just terrible. Talk about a coincidence. Yeah, no, that was not intentional either. That was just how they made the Cro-Magnon woman.
I cannot imagine they were sitting around like trying to concoct any of that. Why would they?
No. Here we go. Yeah, no, that was not intentional at all. Let me do this. So, hang on a second, everybody. Here we go. Hang on, I gotta zoom in here a little bit. There we go. We'll pull it over. Oops.
Oh my goodness.
I'll zoom out, that got too close.
Oh my goodness.
So we know now we know where her ancestry comes from. But yep.
Oh my gosh. I know she would love to be his VP pick, and I have to tell you, thinking about all the craziness that he's always spewing at the media and all the craziness she is, could you imagine a pairing like that? Oh boy.
Oh yeah, we'd have a Cro-Magnon and a, basically a scrotum covered in cotton candy. That would be the White House photo. All right. Well, I have one last clip we got to get through, but I really want to get through. But yeah, we'll end up with Marjorie Taylor Greene there. But yeah, she's having a rough time. Reporter upset her, and she had to walk away. And you know how she walks away, Lacey? She just puts one knuckle in front of the other.
Yeah. You could not help yourself with that, could you?
I couldn't. Anyway.
No, I am not touching this Neanderthal situation. Nope.
It was just it was a coincidence, and that's what happened. It was just a coincidence. Amazing, wonderful coincidence. So,
I mean, sometimes coincidences make me laugh a lot, but
absolutely. So we got
just gonna leave it right there.
All right, so we got one last thing. Now, I don't know if everybody remembers the clip of Biden tripping on the stairs going up to Air Force One. I love this clip. It's hilarious. I love this clip so much. It's so funny. We're gonna watch it real quick. So the Fox made a big hay out of this, but it is kind of a funny clip of Biden tripping going up the stairs.
Oh.
3 times.
Beam me up, buddy. Beam me up.
But you know what I love about it? Even when he trips up. He kept going up.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That was some pretty graceful tripping. I do not trip that gracefully. I'm a way clumsier tripper than that, so I gotta say, you did pretty well. Like, mine would have been a big, ugly, down situation for sure.
But he knows he's on camera, and he's a little embarrassed, but he stops. He's like, fuck it. He just brushes off his pants and just continues on. But then he has to end it with, I gotta show you the end because this is just hilarious to me. They know whatever shows you this part, but this is the best part. So after he trips, walks up. Gotta salute the troops. All right. Nothing happened.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Anyway, so that's really funny. So, you know, I can make fun of that because there's no video of me tripping on the stairs, right? If there was, I would keep my fucking mouth shut. I just laugh and go,
Hey,
"I'm
everybody. If anybody who's watching this, particularly Duncan's father, and you have any clips of Duncan tripping on the stairs, please contribute those.
Please don't. So,
please do.
I don't know if you know who Tommy Tuberville is. He's one of the stupidest peoples in Congress. And he recently was at CPAC, and I think he's in the House or the Senate, I can't remember. He's a dipshit. We're going to make fun of him for a minute, because he was at CPAC making fun of Joe Biden tripping, and Joe Biden's old, and Joe Biden can't handle the stairs, and blah, blah, blah. And shortly after he made that comment, this video came out of Tommy Tuberville getting off a plane. Here's Tommy. Got his bag. Looking good so far. Good. Watch your step there, Tommy.
Oh, that was a full butt, full slide down, like, oh boy.
Oh man, that was so good.
You know, I do believe in karma. And that might have been like karma being real straightforward right there.
Oh my god, here it is. Let's see if this plays. Oh, I couldn't resist. So Tommy totally tanks it on the stairs. That was hilarious. So he bitches about Biden being old and can't handle stairs, and then that video comes out of him falling all the way down the stairs. Tommy's like, oh shit, I forgot about that video. Damn. Tommy doesn't know a lot. He was a football coach, and now he's a representative. This is the thing about the Republicans. Trump, former reality TV star, failed businessman, been bankrupt a billion times, right? That's who they elect. Tommy Tuberville, former coach, no experience in politics, no, real education in law or anything. We elect him because he was a coach. Marjorie Taylor Greene, no real experience. Lauren Boebert, no experience. I mean, they just picked the most random ass people. So here's Tommy Tuberville. We covered this, but I got to show it again. This is when they did the in vitro fertilization ruling in Alabama, and the clinics there were trying to. Well, the courts there said that frozen embryos are people, and so if anything happens, it's murder if they get damaged or destroyed or whatever. So all the clinics had to shut down until they got recently the governor passed a bill protecting it, but this was them asking Tommy Tuberville about IVF right after this happened in Alabama, where he's a representative.
Do you have a reaction to the Alabama Supreme Court ruling on the fact that embryos are children?
Yeah, I was all for it. We need to have more kids. We need to have an opportunity to do that. And I thought this was the right thing to do. But
IVF is used to have more children, and right now IVF services are paused at some of the clinics in Alabama. Aren't you concerned that this could impact people who are trying to have kids?
Well, that's for another conversation. People need to have. We need more kids. We need people to have the opportunity to have kids.
What do you say to the women right now in Alabama who no longer have access to IVF, who will not, as a result of this ruling? What do you say to them?
Well, that's a hard one. It really is. It's really hard. Because, again, you want people to have that opportunity. And that's what I was telling her. We need more kids.
So what do you think about the IVF thing? Well, we need more kids. I'm all for it. Yeah. Well, wait. This is causing clinics to shut down so people who want kids through in vitro fertilization can't get them. Oh, well, that's a conversation for another time. Well, what do you say to these people who can't get kids? Well, we want more kids. He didn't even fucking know what IVF is, man. Just say I don't know what you're talking about.
Not to mention, it's super weird for any politician to just like run around saying, we want more kids, we want more kids. Like, it's just a super weird thing to say in general. It just, even if he knew what he was talking about, that's a weird thing to say.
He has no idea what he's talking about. So he has no idea what he's talking about. And my other favorite part about this is he doesn't. They'll ask him questions about shit he obviously doesn't know, but he talks like he does, and then he catches himself and realizes when they correct him and go, "No, you're wrong. You're talking about something else entirely." And then he just tries to backpedal out of it, like, "Oh no, I knew the whole time." Right? So here's a really fun one that we'll end the show with this. I always forget her name, but she's actually a really good reporter or anchor on CNN. She asks him about white nationalism and his party, and especially in Alabama, where he's from, right? And Tommy Tuberville clearly doesn't know what a white nationalist is. You will not fucking believe this. And he tries to answer anyway.
White nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races.
Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think, COVID really brought it out about how bad our schools are and how bad our teachers are in the inner city.
So he doesn't even fucking know. Well, that's your opinion. That's the definition. You fucking idiot. Oh, I got a couple more. Yeah, we got a couple more here, real quick. And just him saying stupid ass shit. It just amazes me how dumb this fucking guy is.
They want to divide family. They don't want any gender. They want one gender. They want to attack everything that we've done over the years and go by their ideology. Our country is in trouble, and
it doesn't make any sense.
They want one gender?
Who is this that wants one gender?
Who wants one gender?
Who the fuck are you talking about?
Listen, I'm done with him. I am done. My brain will hurt from trying to understand what he's even saying.
Oh, don't try to understand it. Just accept that it's stupid.
Nonsensical. Oh my gosh.
And that this guy is a government official.
All right, so listen to Taylor Swift. Go vote.
Absolutely.
Go vote.
Go vote, Swifties and non-Swifties. Everybody vote. Okay, well, that was everything I had. So we did that. We went a little long today, but we'll thanks everybody for sticking with us. I just had to get through some of these clips. There was just so much shit that we've been sitting on for like 2 weeks that we never had time to get to. So anyway, we'll do some finance stuff next time. This time kind of mostly just the news, but we'll do finance stuff next time. Well, where can everybody catch you, Lace?
I was going to say, hopefully hopefully in the next couple of weeks, they can just stop doing so much stupid crap in the news so we can make it to finance. Okay. On that note, you can catch me at mysensewithsense.com. You can find my articles, courses, workshops I do. You can feel free to write into us with any questions or desire for follow-up on those, or you can send us some clips. Make them financy if you want to hint to us that like the news has gotten too much.
Absolutely.
And, write into some of these crazies to stop making news for us. And they can do that by writing in it where?
You can write us at Gossip Finance at Outlook, Gossip Finance AD, at Outlook.com. If you want to come on the show or discuss anything with us, we could also probably do some calls coming up. We're open to that. So, yeah, let us know. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a great week, and best wishes to all of us going forward. After I just tripped down the stairs.